gentleman. This is a little ditty written by him in his handwriting. It was on the back of the photograph, but he liked to go to be in parades and stuff, and he had this dog and his cart and a monkey, and he was an entertainer, you know. Another guy was Milton Zeitz, who was a guy in the supply business back east, and he did parties for kids and parades and called himself Uncle Millie and dressed up like a clown. And that might be John Wayne Gacy. He also liked to dress up like a clown, but there was a total division there. So this is some of his flash, and he always had his windows decorated with, you know, tiki, just carved wooden statues from the South Pacific and things. So he was a flash and a credit to the profession. There was a fellow that stopped by my tattoo shop, and you can't, I won't say control your employers, but I think that, to me, a stranger is just a friend that you haven't met. And you're friendly to people. But they go in the damn tattoo shop, I'm not there, they get a lot of different attitudes that isn't really mine. And so he had stopped by to say hello, and he didn't get a good reception. So he went back to Canada, he wrote me a goddamn scathing letter, you know, about it. And then I actually flew up and seen the guy, and I seen his work and everything else. So I think he's probably the only tattoo artist in the world that was ever brought in the United States. We won't use the word legally, but anyhow, tattooing is a great profession because you can just have your little ditty bag and go through customs, go to work for somebody. So, but we went through immigration with him, filled out all the papers, and so he came in kosher. That's it. And so he could walk down the street and see dog doo-doo laying in the gutter and go back and draw a damn tattoo design. So I nicknamed him the picture machine, and he carries it to this day. And he's deceased now. But anyhow, Pat Martinook was his name. And he has a grandson that tattoos in Reno now. His son passed away not too long ago. And so it must be some of Pat's flash here. But anyhow, Pat Martinook, the picture machine. But he was a picture machine, and he wasn't the greatest artist in the world, but goddamn, he was innovative. I mean, he could just crank out designs, traditional stuff. There's a guy named Art Livermore. Anybody familiar with his name? Pat's tattooed him all over. And really bold, and he used color. He had a good sense of color, and he wound up his postcards and things about Art Livermore. I just learned recently that he was over 50 years old when he started getting tattooed all over. He was an ex-fighter pilot in World War II. And they got interested in tattooing, and away he went. So, Art Livermore. This guy here is Davy Jones, and he went to work with me. And he could come in and he wanted a black anchor tattooed on his arm. So I said, "Are you a sailor? Merchant sailor?" "No." Well, I at that time had been tattooing some gay merchant sailors, and they was getting black anchors on the arm, see? So that's what I was. And you talk to people when you're tattooing, because it's that if you put the hours in a chair, if you were, say, an oil painter on canvas, and you were clustered somewhere in a studio doing that, see, tattoo artists, we're lucky because we got talking canvases, you know? And then it's interesting because if they come in, they get a unicorn tattooed on you, you wind up getting a PhD on goddamn unicorns, because they'll tell you all about unicorns or whatever, you know? So, Davy Jones, This lady's lives in Hawaii now.
No, she doesn't. She's right
Is she
here.
here? Sweetheart. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Well, anyhow, this lady here she's a fashion designer, and this was a layout that we did. It was going to use that, what was that, tattoo show at the Dio Museum out here?
Oh, yeah.
And it was going to use this as a poster, but some reason we got knocked out.
I know.
So we boycotted the
Big
goddamn show,
disappointment. I don't
right?
blame you.
So anyhow, and then here, there she is here. This lady's gone now, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
You're standing right in the front row, for Christ's sakes. Well, good to see you.
To see you.
So anyhow, God, those were the great days. They had, San Francisco was really like a fashion center. There was a lot going on here. So you were
Well, I
involved.
designed a line of T-shirts based on his tattoos, but it was done with appliques rather than print.
So that show that was at Bimbo's, that fashion show?
Yep.
Yeah, they had a Ragtime was the name of it. So I had that line of tattoo designs on T-shirts and everything. So they had, it was like a stage production, the whole business. So they was gonna hold it every 2 months. In the meeting, I said, goddamn Ragtime's once a month. So they switched it, and we had it once a month. But it was like a stage production. They had a band, they had the whole business. And I went out with the T-shirt designs, and I had a goddamn pair of white leather hot pants on, because hot pants was in, you know. And I wasn't really satisfied when I got off stage. But, so I observed all the people that was, the models and everything that was wearing the T-shirts and things. But backstage, the band's out there in front pumping, but they're all boogalooing, you know. So, I guess at one time it was Friday and Saturday night. It was 2 nights. So I was watching it and observing it. You got to get warmed up, and I haven't got a rheumatic bone in my goddamn body. But she started jumping up and down. I was satisfied with my stage performance that night. And you went out on stage. They modeled it and everything else. They danced around. And then you went down a runway out into the audience. But that did a lot for fashions in San Francisco. It still isn't a fashion center now. It's sort of dropped off, hasn't it? Yeah. But here we are. Elaine Robinson.
Is that the shirts you're talking about? It's right here. Is that you designed?
Yeah, right here.
Those actually weren't mine. Those are mine.
Yeah, these were mine.
Those were yours. Yeah.
The first time I seen my body shirt, the guy that produced it was named Bruce Steinberg. And we contacted, and at Varsity House did their shirts, and that was the presidential voting. Every goddamn T-shirt had vote on it. Probably nobody here is old enough to remember that, but anyhow, they.
We need it now, don't we?
Yeah.
So the first time I ever saw my body shirt was the doorbell rang. I was living over in Sausalito. Went to the door, and there's this pretty lady standing there with my body shirt on. Bruce had brought it over. And the pretty lady was Joanna Cassidy, the movie star that was wearing that shirt. And that was the time when it got, so Amy Hill was a writer for Rolling Stone. In college, her roommate was Karen Thorenson, and she was a writer for Life magazine. So that stuff was just like a highway to heaven of going up in the bigger. So here's the cover. I used to drive Austin Coopers. So I used to use all my business cards and stuff, instead of tattooing, I used tattooing. But a U instead of the. And so This is Joanna Cassidy right here. So this was a party at my house over in Sausalito. And I had a branch office down in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard. And this was the shop here. And here's Richard Betts in a tattoo shop. I've been over in the South Pacific, and you got palm trees and all that business in your sort of psyche. So Mr. Betts, he was the lead guitar player for the Allman Brothers. We took some acid one afternoon, and I did a bunch of tattooing on his arm. You talk about and I had these palm trees and everything. I'm like, God damn it, he's got the craziest arm you've ever seen in your life. So, your ears get bigger as you get older. You grow more eyebrows and all that stuff. These boots were made by Nudie, the Hollywood tailor. He's the guy that made that $10,000 gold lame suit that Elvis Presley wore and made so famous. Well, his bootmakers made these. I can't get the goddamn things on anymore. So, but pleasant memories. In fact, these are ostrich, and the legs are ostrich also. Today, a pair of ostrich cowboy boots, just the bottoms, last I saw, was like $1,200 or something. And these are all ostrich, and then they got kangaroo skin on the leather of the interior, so they really made some faces. Just stuff I had on the walls. People come in, trot in. It was a no-brainer. They'd go in, look around your walls. I want that one. So you get in the drawer, get the stencil on. Maroon. Those were the good old days. Now they went to their aura red, and you gotta try to design something for them. I keep bringing that aura. I goddamn near busted a gut one night when this tattoo artist that was visiting the shop come up with that line. Well, I'll have to read your aura first about this, my pants. Anyhow. Janice had this psychedelic Porsche. What's in the background? I mean, it's just coincidental. That's this place here. So, Janice Dalton probably did more for tattooing than anybody can go with. She used to get up and tell crowds that anybody that got tattooed liked to do it a lot, and she didn't say do it, you know? And goddamn Madison Avenue in New York City for big bucks couldn't write good advertising like that, you know? I used to do on a television show or something, I'd quote her, but I would beep myself out. That she said anybody that got tattooed liked to beep a lot. What saved them from doing it? So anyhow, there's my bull terrier. He was back there in one of those other pictures too, with that Mini Cooper. And correspondence from writing. This was another address book that I carried around. I still have one, but I carry it in my computer bag now. But there's one of those books somewhere. Because he was based out of Sausalito, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know why that turned to those particular pages, but I guess his big brother in the holding company, and they're out there pounding it up. So it was some big, stature-wise, big brown people would come in the tattoo shop, and I don't care, men, women, and children, all love tattoos. It was even with them one day was a preacher that liked tattoos. I'm like, where in the hell are these people from? Outer space, you know? And because tattooing, you're either for it or against it. I mean, it's just, there's no middle of the roaders. Well, I found out they were Samoans. So I said, God damn, I got to go see this. And so 1972. And then in researching tattoos, it was sort of a motif that people was getting tattooed. And it wasn't designs where they had all the designs that were one to the other. And I call it the tire patch look. Tattoo, you know. And so I went ahead, and Pat Martin took the picture machine. I was tattooed to the waist. So we went ahead and did sort of in all black, sort of an op art design. And it seems like a lot of primitive cultures, the Samoans, people from the Nicobar Islands in Malaysia, and in South America, there was a tribe down there that did that with trousers. So we went ahead and did it with like an op art design. Because I would look, as an Occidental, I would look sort of weird with a Samoan tattoo on me. I mean, it's like a white guy wearing an afro, or Occidental wearing a Japanese suit or something. You can't make that transition. So that's why I wanted to carry on the culture and the thought behind it, but not copy it. So when I went over there, all of their chiefs and dignitaries and everything else, it's called a pe'aha. It's their traditional tattoo. And it goes from here to the knees. And in Samoa, you're nobody unless you got one of those on. I mean, you can't even mix kava at the chief's chambers or go into the chief's chambers without this. And I asked people, why did you get that? Just as a curiosity. Old Samoan custom. It's just something that you had. So this was when I went to Samoa. And here's one of these notebooks. So when I was there, due to the fact that I was tattooed all over, that put me in sort of a realm above what they was thinking about what they had. So they wound up giving me my Thai name, so I'm not like a citizen of Western Samoa. I could have promptly with it. So my chief's name is Ta'ula I Malolo, which is a malolo is a flying fish, and then Ta'ula is like an anchor or an anchorage, a safe place. And so this was. And then they took me up in front of Parliament in Apia, the seat of the government, and read it. So it's not like when you go to an Indian wigwam village in Arizona or somewhere, they make you an honorary chief. Well, that's the real McCoy, which is fun. These designs right here done by a guy named Akamatsu in 1868 in Japan when the Emperor Trajan, not the Emperor Trajan, that's a Roman, Meiji, Emperor Meiji in Japan. He was 17 years old. He was brought in as is it Emperor? What is it? The leader of Japan.
Shogun?
Huh?
Shogun?
I did. Somebody's telling me something, but
A shogun?
I'm talking about the head of the government. Asked his advisors what the Western world frowned upon, and tattooing was one of them. And so the tattoo artists there, which was an old tradition, wasn't allowed to practice their trade on the Japanese citizen. So a lot of them left. In fact, the first tattoo artist in San Francisco was 2 Japanese tattoo artists here back in the 1870s. Well, anyhow, Akamatsu was down in the Mediterranean area right before World War I. So this is a guy named, well, as it looks like, he got this design tattooed on him on 4/12/1950. So the Britain ended the war in 1914, because they call it the 14-18 War. We got it in 1906. But these different, here's a Tom Sidney, 25/4/1917, and he was on Her Majesty's ship, the Kenneth. So they would put their name, the date, and their ship. This was in the Mediterranean. So that's really historic stuff. Stoney St. Clair, tattooed in Florida, tattooed on carnivals for years. He had a debilitating, he was in a wheelchair, and tattooed, I picked those sheets up in Columbus, Ohio, and there was a lot of tattoo artists, and I did the same thing. I redrew my flash all the time, so it was right around the walls, and you had designs that weren't selling. You didn't paint them back on there. Designs that you collected that copied, collected or whatever. You would, I'd stick those in. So they're sales aids. You're still here, Don.
Hey, brother.
Well, I was mentioning you a little while ago. I don't know what it was, but it was in a good vein.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir.
That's Doc Don Lucas. He's from New Orleans, or a little old town. Big time tattoo collector.
Thank you, sir.
So, Lescue's an English tattoo artist. He has family that tattoo over there. Got a grandson that has the British Tattoo Club, which is an extension of. But to exercise and appreciate his business, get more business, you had to have, I forget how much it was, 100 pounds or something of his tattoos to belong to the Bristol Tattoo Club. And for a symbol, it had a bat that got copied off of the Bacardi rum bottle. But that club's still going. I saw a couple of t-shirts running around. Here we go, one right here. Bristol Tattoo Club, established in 1953. So he had, he turned out a charter, remember? No.
I did sign up. Yes, I sent in my dues.
But 1953.
No, not from there.
That's what I'm talking about.
I wish.
Yeah. This was an Esquire magazine. One of my custom tattoo machines. I tattooed fairly fast in the vein of Bert Grimm. And the name of the tattoo machine. And I tattooed fairly fast, so they called me the Frisco Flyer. And so I did the tattoo machine was the Frisco Flyer. There's a couple of them there on in the machining. So I only made about 25 of them. But, so, this is the stairway that goes up to my place over Columbus Avenue upstairs. And the cat's name is Nick, and so I'm talking to the cat. No wonder cats and dogs never progressed any further. It's the way people talk to them. In fact, it's a wonder that kids, because people's always talking goofy stuff to kids, little kids. My comment to them generally is get out of them. Yes. So my jewelry, some down here. Tattoo it belly. So, I think this is Richard Todd. He was here a little while ago taking pictures. So, then I was mentioning stars a little while ago. It wasn't for stars that had been drawing stickmen. Well, back in the sort of the psychedelic era and everything else, stars, there was a pop artist by the name of Peter Max, did a lot of stars and things. So, a dragon that's coming out of a psychedelic. It was taking a little bit of acid. It was too. I don't know if I'd have the gonads to take acid now. I don't think. I don't know. And that's so curious that I want to take and find out. Because that goddamn acid, I'm sure probably everybody here in this audience has taken acid at one time. But Christine the Colorful was a lady from Canada that wound up getting tattooed all over by Ed Hardy and Cliff Raymond, and did some beautiful work on her. And more correspondence. Horiyoshi the Third, tattoos in I guess he tattoos in Yokohama, but the certificate of the Japanese Tattoo Club. There's a guy named Kimmy, and he was an interpreter for the army and everything in Korea, and a tattoo artist, or became a tattoo artist. And in the military, you count the days that you're going to leave that duty station to go to another one, or you're going to get discharged, so you count them off. Well, each one of these scales has a number in it. So as those days pass, then you color it in. That's great.
Yeah.
Here's more correspondence. This is Dr. Fukushi, who is the gentleman that has the human skin collection in the Nippon Medical School. His father started the collection. And in his research, they're forensic pathologists. So in his research, he found that people that tattooed skin has less melanomas on it than untattooed skin. So what does the scientist do? Bring me examples. And in meeting all these people that were tattooed all over, Japanese, he realized that there's an art style, art history, the evolution of the designs. Most of their tattoos were taken from the Sukodan, which is the 101 heroes in their mythology. And so then he started, whether the person asked him or he asked them or whatever it was, they started taking skins when the people met their demise. And so they figured they lost about 500 of them during the war when Tokyo was being bombed. And I know in the show book there's a picture of me and he's standing behind me with a yardstick.
Not good.
I was going to take it to donate my skin to the collection. Well, what happened was they sort of rethought it and I rethought it and sort of drew back my offer. But they realized that they took my skin into that collection, that they can excuse the collection. How you doing? Not excuse the collection, but collecting anything with human parts or something is sort of verboten everywhere, you know. That it's explainable because of the art evolution of it and the culture and everything else, and so these human skills. And if they accepted an outsider, then that cultural viewpoint would sort of leave. So, but now Dr. Fukushi. And so I was over in Japan doing a TV show, and he had come to my museum here in San Francisco, and he was over here for a pathology convention in New Orleans. And so of course he invited me over there, and I was over there doing this TV show, and we got together. So he took me to the Nippon Medical School where they have the skins and they are curing them. Because on the back of the skin there's a fatty tissue and they have to deteriorate that. It's a whole process. Well, that's the skin that's laying on an autopsy table. And I was sort of worried all day over there. God damn, it was hot and humid. And what if I'm over there and faint? And they deal in a lot of face over there. You know, you lose face. So I was worried about that. So, and they cure them in 5-gallon buckets. And they've got chemicals and everything else. So in the middle of viewing these skins, and they would dump them out on the table, they all of a sudden some bells started going off, and it was a low door like this, and there was a red light blinking over, and here come a gurney out of this doorway with somebody covered up with a sheet. So this is a teaching hospital, so they had somebody just expired. They shot him down about 3 or 4 autopsy tables. They got him on there. You remember that Quincy was the name of it?
Yeah.
And they took the skull cap and then the cop faints and all that shit. Well, that's what happened. It was some woman went through with a smock and everything on, and she had 2 goddamn ladles. I was wondering what about the ladles. So they whacked the guy top of his skull off, took those samples, then they opened him up. When somebody reached in there and took all these intestines out and laid them on the damn table. So the skins were nothing, but I made it through that too. The ladles are for taking and dipping the blood out of the intestinal cavity that was over there. Quite an experience. So anyhow, this is Horiyoshi III, and then Horiyoshi II, no relation, just happened to be a name they pick up, is, but Horiyoshi II didn't have any tattoos at all, because to be a tattoo artist, he'd went to school and become a fine artist, couldn't make a living, so he went to his father, who was a tattoo artist, and begged him to teach him how to tattoo. And the father said, I would, but you can't get any tattoos. So he sat there and tattooed people all the time. No tattoos. I got his chop on my arm. That's his professional signature. And then I took the machine and took his arm and was in the chair. And you get the weirdest look on his face, because I was told Shimada, who's a publisher that was there, speaks English. He speaks no English. That's a